Okay, good evening. We'll get ready to start our meeting. Sorry we're a few minutes late. We'll go ahead and open with our flag salute, and it looks like they're over here on the stage. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tammy, please note we have all 5 board members present, yourself for notes, and we have Anna, Dr. Yucca, and Dr. Haas tonight. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda additions, deletions, revisions. If not, we'll look for approval.
Madam Chair, I'll have to declare a conflict of interest on the consent agenda for my sister Chelsea Kurtz for the renewal of the licensed staff.
Madam Chair, move to approve the agenda as presented, noting Ms. Ederle's conflict.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the agenda with the declaration made by Ms. Ederle, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion on the consent agenda? Okay. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Anna, I'll move this over to you. We're going to move to the superintendent update.
Okay. Agenda topic 3.1 is regarding the renaming of the Pioneer Complex. And Pioneer Complex is the campus that we're at right now. There was a time when there was no elementary school in this campus, and it really wasn't planned that there ever would be an elementary school here. And at that time, we had moved Pioneer Alternative High School, which was in a small building at the northeast corner of the campus. We had moved that into the south part of this campus. And so that was the only thing here, was Pioneer. And there was talk at that time of maybe moving the district office or maybe moving central services. And so when we talked about what did we want to name this, the school board at that time decided to name this campus Pioneer Complex. And so now the Pioneer High School has moved into its own building over by the Crook County High School. And then after that, we decided to move an elementary school back into this campus. And eventually, it's now in both of the main buildings of this campus. So really, I think most people think of this campus as Steens Pillar Elementary, and so we're proposing to eliminate confusion about the word Pioneer, that we rename this campus Steens Pillar Elementary, and that is a board decision to name facilities. So that's why this is in front of you.
I'll move to rename the Pioneer Complex to Steens Pillar Elementary.
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of renaming the Pioneer Complex to Steens Pillar Elementary, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Carrie Lombach.
all. I am here with two different things tonight. We'll go ahead and start off with the school calendar. Calendar committee met in February twice. Calendar committee is made up of teachers, classified staff, union representatives, school board chair, and what we do is we start out by kind of transposing current year's calendar and what that would look like in next year's calendar. And that is where we start. And we start to have some discussion about ways to make it better, ways to adjust it. So what you have in front of you is a combination of ideas from the calendar committee based on this year's calendar transposed into next year. Some of the major differences, which actually aren't really major at all, is moving conferences back kind of a week in our calendar. That was to adjust for both high school and elementary, mostly high school and middle school teachers saying like, hey, we need a little bit more time to get to know our kids and before we have conferences and meet with their families. And also, we still need enough time so that when we talk about grades or when we talk about attendance with parents, there's still enough time in that trimester to kind of make a difference or communicate. So that seemed to be a reasonable compromise. You're going to see that, the same thing we did in April was move conferences a week later for the same reasons. We moved the October staff development, that's a district development day, was moved to November 1st. There were some ideas around that, again, based on the fact that Halloween is on a Thursday, and we have that district-directed day, which always feels pretty early in October anyway, so to move it back to that week on November 1st made a little bit of sense to be able to adjust for any professional development we might need or other district needs to bring to teachers. And we moved second trimester a week earlier and third trimester a week earlier. This year what we found, like this week is the last week of the trimester, and then there's just 1 week of the new trimester before we go off to spring break, and the same was true at the holiday in December. So the teachers around the table thought that having 2 weeks before we went on a break in a new trimester would be a better representation or would feel better, especially for secondary kiddos and their families. And then the last thing that we did is we made sure that our holiday breaks were aligned with other local school districts and the universities in our region. Yeah, I think what that looks like on the calendar, the only other kind of point that some people brought up is that our third trimester is now our longest trimester in terms of days. And when we talked about that at the calendar committee, it was actually decided for most people that that wasn't a bad thing given that May is full of testing for both elementary, middle, and secondary. So our instructional minutes, our instructional time is less because kids are doing some state testing, as well as seniors who are graduating. They go ahead and they get out several days early, actually several weeks earlier. And so to be able to have a similar amount of instructional days in that trimester as the others. Any questions?
Carrie, I know Joel had brought this up at one of our meetings, but where is the intent to have the back-to-school nights with the holiday being that weekend and we start the day after?
Yeah, the back-to-school nights would be somewhere in that week of the 26th, 27th, 28th, or 29th, probably later in that week. And I know that you talked about and we talked about making sure or trying to have them on separate nights for elementary and secondary so parents didn't have to make a choice. When thinking about putting that on the calendar, because we hadn't made an official decision about what nights those would be, we thought that we would leave those off the calendar for right now and then just advertise those when we had a chance. Because if we put anything on this calendar and then it changes, then we have to bring it back in front of you for a new calendar approval.
Okay. Are the school board meetings going to be on this calendar? Because last year's calendar, they were not on there.
So I know Tammy put the school board meetings on there. So if you look at August 12th, it says school board meeting, September 9th school board meeting, October 7th school board meeting, all the way down. I think the one in November is a tentative because the second Monday in November is a holiday, and so we've tentatively put it on the 1st. But I believe they're all the way through on all the months.
I move to adopt the 24-25 school year calendar as presented. And then I'm assuming that Dr. Hoffield, you guys will work on those back-to-school nights.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of adopting the 24-25 school calendar as presented by Carrie, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Carrie, you're the next topic too.
Get me up here. Okay, so the next topic, Jessica, you had asked for a little bit of update of where we were on curriculum adoption. So you guys have a handout that just gave some basic information, but please feel free to ask any questions. I'm actually going to start on the back side. So one of the questions was, what is the schedule of curriculum adoption or instructional materials adoption that the state sets out? And so I gave you the next, couple of years prior, and I gave you the next couple of years coming, what's happening. So we are currently, our current year is science. Last year was math, but we did postpone math last year. So this year in 2023, we are doing science, and we are hoping to do the bulk of the math. Next year will be health and physical education. 2025 will be social science, and 2026 will be world languages and the arts. So that is the calendar that ODE sets out for instructional materials adoption, and it rotates every 7 years. So you see those come, and then they go, and then they come back again in 7 years. ODE also allows us to postpone adoption for up to 2 years with school board approval. And so that is what we have done in the past for both English language proficiency or ELP. We are on our last year of our postponement, so this is the year that we have to do that. We are 1 year of a postponed math, and I'm hoping that for the bulk of our math, we don't have to do a second year of a postponement for that. It can be complicated when you start postponing. But lots of districts actually always postpone that mathematics because it comes right after English language arts, and for an elementary model, when you adopt both English language arts and mathematics back to back, those are 2 core curriculums for elementaries, and those are pretty hefty adoptions, both in professional development, in budget, and in time learning a new curriculum. So to go kind of on, we have to adopt an English language proficiency curriculum this year. We're lucky we've found some that we think would be a really good fit across K through 12. It's a smaller adoption. This is the current year for science adoption. We are not planning on asking for a postponement for that one. And postpone math adoption for 1 year, and we have to adopt no later than fall of 2025. And kind of to go back on the front side, I don't need to read all through those. I do have one addition to make in terms of which curriculums that we have asked for from publishers and which teams are currently looking at, and that is for 6 through 8 for the science curriculum. There's an additional one, and it's called STYLE, S-T-I-L-E, and it's style by style. I just forgot to add that one when I typed this one up.
For all grades or which level?
So for 6 through 8, on the science curriculum on the top one.
Madam Chair. Question, Carrie, where are we with the health curriculum, which we put off previously so we could look at maybe doing some internal development?
So health curriculum is not set for an adoption until next year. So it needs to, we start looking at it in 2024. That's when the Oregon Department of Education releases their approved list, is in fall of 2024.
So I thought we had a discussion at this table where we talked about write your own as opposed to their list. Where are we with that project?
We are, and I'm going to put out some asks for some teachers, some of our health teachers, and at the time that we talked about that, which was several months ago, I think that was at the Paulina board meeting. After that, the teachers that I talked to about kind of writing or looking into writing a health curriculum were feeling a little overwhelmed at that, and wanted a little bit more direction about what that might look like. So I put out asks So far, I haven't gotten anybody that's like, yes, that is exactly what I want to do. A little concerned about doing that, the time and effort that it would take.
You might want to follow up on that, Madam Chair, at some point. Thanks.
Joel, can you add that to our list to look into, please? Thank you. So, Carrie, I just have some questions on, I don't know what our old curriculums are, so are we switching, are all of these going to be new compared to what they were previously using? So all three of these curriculums are going to be completely different than what we've been using for the last 7 years?
With the exception, really, of the K through 5 science curriculum. So then the last two adoption cycles, we have adopted our main ELA text as also our science and social studies curriculum because they are so interdisciplinary. And that is a possibility going forward again, is using our adopted ELA Wit and Wisdom text as both our core science, and then continuing on, we have a supplementary science that some buildings are using called Mystery Science, and other buildings are called Generation Genius, that helps fill those gaps in the standards that our ELA curriculums haven't filled. It's interesting to look at our ELA curriculum and how much science is actually in there and how much social studies is actually in there in the different units. And so that is a possibility that K through 5 are looking at asking for.
So we're bringing these for our curriculum night, but are we not 100% sure this is what we're going with?
These are our choices right now. So usually at the curriculum night, we'll bring our top choice or our top 2 choices.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have a meeting about math tomorrow. I think with the K through 5 math, what we're going to present at curriculum nights is just going to be the Oregon math by Big Ideas. But after my math meeting tomorrow with Shannon, based on some survey results, we'll know that for sure. And that was Oregon Math by Big Ideas was actually a curriculum that we had last year at this time that we were looking at. It was our 3rd place curriculum, and it got really good marks at our community review. In fact, I think I saw Calista here. It was one that she liked. Yep. Yeah, it was one that she spoke in front of the board and gave really good marks to. And recently, when our teachers have looked at it after doing their pilot at the beginning that they didn't like, many of the things that Oregon Math by Big Ideas had actually fit what into math did not have. And so they are interested in bringing that back as a potential adoption.
So how does the Oregon Math by Big Ideas flow with these Ed Gyms by SMC curriculum? I just feel like we're putting our K through 5 through a curriculum. Then we jump to a different one come middle school, but then halfway through middle school, they're at a new, if it's every 7 years, they'd be at a new math adoption. But then our high school, we're postponing for another year while pilot takes place. But at that point, those middle schoolers, like if this is our K through 5 right now, they potentially be in middle school for another adoption, not knowing if it's going to tie into our high school. So how do these tie in with one another?
Well, all publishers that are approved by ODE, which everything that we have here has been approved by ODE, are standards-based. So they are based on our Oregon standards. So I hear your concern about we've got different publishers with potentially a different vehicle for delivering instruction, and that does often look different for kids. Many publishers don't have approved materials at all 3 levels. And when we've looked at those last year, some of the Reveal math, which we didn't end up going with, it did not have what we needed at K through 5 at all. The high school actually thought it had what they needed. So it's tricky because these publishers, when they publish books, a lot of times they're K through 5 and they're 6 through 12 or they're 6, 8, and 9, 12. They're actually designed by and written by different people and are housed in different facilities isn't the right word I'm looking for, but they don't get together as a K through 12 teaching base and align the curriculum. What you see is that potentially the covers look similar, maybe some of the language looks similar, but when you really start to look at the K through 5, 6 through 8, and 9 through 12, when you dive in, many of the supports that are there in one grade band are not there in another band. Or if they are at K through 5 really heavy, then those supports or those things that the kids as they get older and need more application and higher level thinking skills around the math don't exist as much. So yes, we've always been in the place too where on another adoption cycle, even if we really loved the materials that we have, publishers sell their materials, publishers sell their businesses. There's rarely a time in my 20 years of teaching where I've been like, oh, I really loved that, and then have it show up again the next 7 years, and having it still belong to, Pearson or HMH or McGraw-Hill, and having it look really similar.
Carrie, I have a question. On the high school,
Yeah.
is this postponed for another year while pilot takes place in math? Are we in the pilot now, or are they piloting next year?
We tried a pilot this year of a product called Savas, envisioned by Savas, and it did not go well. So the reason why high school is looking at potentially piloting again next year is to kind of come back to this. EdGems by SMC Curriculum is currently developing a high school curriculum, and they are starting with algebra and geometry, and then algebra 2, a curriculum. And so we are going to hopefully pilot that freshman and sophomore level math to see if that's a good 6 through 12 fit for us.
Carrie, are we just taking the recommendations from ODE, or have we looked outside of what ODE has to offer?
So when I put teams together, or when teams get together as a committee of teachers and say, yep, I'm interested in being on this math adoption team or the science adoption team, when we first had our meeting, I give them the ODE approved list as a place to start, but then also tell them that we are interested, or if they have other materials that they are interested in or other curriculum that they are interested in, we are happy to look at those. And in fact, especially our high school science, brought a couple things. And then when they started looking into the rubric that ODE uses in terms of whether the materials are quality, whether they, on their online platforms, have the privacy requirements that the state of Oregon requires before you give digital access to kids and curriculums, whether they have the ability for kiddos with disabilities to access them both online and in print. Many of those independent adoptions just don't fulfill those requirements of being best for all kids. So I would say that our science curriculum, both 6 through 8 and 9 through 12, did look at some independent, and ultimately because they want our kids safe with their digital information and they want to make sure that the materials are available for kiddos with disabilities, they went back to the state of Oregon approved ones. But we absolutely can. I mean, you guys will have that. People bring independent ones, it is up to you guys to approve those or not approve those if the committee moves forward to look at those.
So Carrie, did any of these come with, I guess it looks like in English, their 6 through 12 could potentially have the same programs. But like I'm looking at science, K through 5 are 3 separate options, and 6 through 8, 9 through 12. Same with math, and we don't even know what we're doing at a high school level right now. So are we at the high school level, because on the back side you said we moved math to this year for adoption, 23. So are we moving the high school to the following year? Do we have extensions for that in place?
So that will be our second year. So we've postponed for 1 year. ODE allows a postponement for 2 years.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, we're moving high school math adoption in with health and PE at this point.
At this point, yes.
So what you will bring to the board after the curriculum reviews will be math for K through 5 and 6 through 8, and then science is on our list, but then we also have this English language proficiency curriculum, which was in 2021. So are we in the final year extension of that as well?
Yep. So we need to adopt this year in order to have that curriculum in place by fall of 2024.
So in 2021, we only adopted ELA.
I believe so.
Okay, so this ELP, we're also moving with science, the extension of math, and now ELP to 2023.
Yes, for use in 2024, fall of 2024.
Okay. So what will you have available at the curriculum nights?
So
you have listed on here. Curriculum review nights, March 13th and 20th.
Yep. So what will be available for K through 5 will be the science textbook and the Oregon PhD Science by Great Minds will both be there. Wit and Wisdom we already have adopted as an ELA curriculum, but I will have a computer out that shows Mystery Science as a digital platform for a supplementary. We will have the 6 through 8, those science teachers, their preferred is actually the style, which is the one that I had forgotten to type up on here. So that is the one I will have out. I think their second place one, if I remember the email correctly, was the Amplify. So that one will probably be there. But after working with lab aids in the last couple of weeks since I typed this up, they are not interested in lab aids anymore. And then 9 through 12, Inspire will be available.
Are any of these that you have coming for curriculum night anything we're currently using? Are these all new options?
Yep, all new.
So I'm just going to throw out there, just being a parent who has been in curriculum reviews, to look at books and talk to people with what you have coming just in science alone for 2 hours. I don't know that that's even enough time if every single option we're bringing to the table is brand new. I don't know how parents would have the time to give you good feedback. When are we looking at?
So we have the 13th and the 20th set aside from 5 to 7, and then beginning on the 13th, all the materials are available at the district office for people to come anytime the district office is open to be able to look, and that's all the way through spring break on the 22nd. I can certainly extend that or offer another one after spring break.
Are all of these, the overviews you have on here, are all of them brand new to nothing we're currently using? Yeah, that's a lot to filter through for parents who are interested. Okay. So after this review night of these options, you're going to be bringing back the top selections to the board.
So after review nights, we will gather a committee that is including community members, teachers, principals. They take those top choices and they really kind of dive in a little bit deeper. And then they make a recommendation to Dr. Yucca, who will then make a recommendation to you. So they will say, after looking through, and it'll be a committee for science, and a committee for English language proficiency, and a committee for math. Those will be 3 different committees made up of parents, community members. Going back to that policy that you approved, that they don't have to be on the volunteer list anymore, that they can be any community members or parents, and include staff that want to look at those a little bit deeper and make a recommendation. And then, yes. And then at that board meeting where we do that, in the past, they have made or done a presentation about here's the curriculum we're bringing you that we hope that you will approve, and here are the pieces that we liked about it. Here's what it offers families. Here's what it offers teachers.
And when are you making the committees?
So we'll make the committees after the community review nights over the next couple of weeks. Jason Carr has included on his communication around when those review nights are, that if you're interested in serving on a committee, there's a form that you can fill out, and I will also take names on the community review nights, those 2 nights, that if people are interested in serving further on those committees, that they can sign up at that point.
Okay. Does anyone have any other questions?
Carrie, so after the committees are done and everybody's went through everything, is your recommendation going to come probably the May or the May meeting? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm
later?
thinking the May meeting. The April meeting just comes so early and so fast right after spring break that I think we're going to need until the May meeting to get committees together and give them the time that they need and would like in order to deep dive into the curriculums that they're a part of.
Any other questions for Carrie? Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will move on to the school board update. I talked with Joel, and we wanted to find a date that works for everyone in the month of April, looking back on past OSBA informational sheets. Generally, April is when they put out for policies. April and November is their time frames, and so we're hopeful that we could stay on top of policy changes and those things as they come in if we try to align with their guidelines. And then I'm not sure who, but we'll get more information on understanding Pal Butte and Grizzly Mountain Home Link. Any date. We don't have one specific. It's just if...
So you're looking for a work session date?
We're going to potentially want to schedule a work session in April.
And how many hours do you want to do?
Is it still 4, Joel? You think that's equivalent enough?
2 to 4, I would think. We always usually double whatever we schedule, so let's start with 2.
We're sticking to schedules now, Joel. So,
I'll be out of town April 17th through the 21st. Do we want to stick to a Monday, or Jen needs after 4 o'clock? You want to throw some?
yeah.
I'm out of town the week of the 8th and the week of the 15th.
Okay. So either the first
Except for Friday, so if you want to meet Friday night.
So we've got the first week of April or the last full week of April right now. How are those weeks looking?
So we could do maybe possibly April 1st or the 22nd. Oh, yeah.
Or a week
Yeah, I'm good for either of those dates, Jen.
Or the 29th if we want to stick to a Monday. Yeah.
I'm good on the 1st or the 22nd, either day.
Okay, so what about the 29th? We go the end of the month.
Can you do the 29th?
29th?
Yeah, I can do the
I'm
29th.
okay the first week.
How about the 29th? He's gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, the 29th is
April
clear.
Might have,
20, oh, sorry, Jen, does the 29th work for you? Works for Scott.
You have a classified bargaining scheduled for the 29th.
unless that was that just a tentative date somewhere along the line? Okay, so we could do that if that was, okay, never mind. The 29th might could work too.
That easy to reschedule, Jay? Okay.
Okay.
So the 29th for a work session in April, Joel? Everyone agreed upon? Okay. Yeah, we'll look at 4 to 8, Joel.
Yep. So I heard overview of kind of our non-traditional schools, Grizzly Mountain Homelink, hear from Pal Butte, as well as any policy updates.
Yep.
Any other topics on there?
Anybody else have? I'm just going down the list Joel and I have. So if you have other topics, Joel will get that prepared. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the scope for that one, it sounds like, Joel. Thank you. Okay, and then we have our permanent superintendent hiring update. For those that have missed our follow-up to our executive session, we as a board unanimously selected Dr. Skinner. So we are still working with contract negotiations. So we just wanted to kind of make that a louder public comment or statement. Some people didn't tune in or know. We just unanimously had that decision that night. And we appreciate all of the community feedback. We had quite a bit. Rob Hess's firm did a great job with community involvement and those things. So we just wanted to update the public that unanimously we selected Dr. Skinner and are currently working through contract negotiations. And when those are final or complete, we will make an announcement of what our next steps are. So I'll move over to you, Anna, for our policy updates.
I have a policy proposed, a change to a policy to present to you tonight. It's a policy that is related to business travel and expense reimbursement. My proposed change is very simple. It's just a change to the grid that shows the mileage that we reimburse between district buildings. And the change has to do with the move of Pioneer Alternative High School from this location to its new location at the high school, or near the high school. And then just some names. In the old grid, it says Old Crooked River, which is actually now Steen's Pillar. So it's just some naming changes and some mileage changes between buildings.
And I'm assuming the mileage change is just for the IRS? Or are you talking about distance?
It's distance between buildings, yeah. Number of miles.
Okay.
I move to approve DLCAR as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving DLCAR as presented, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And I'll continue the floor on to you for our finance report.
Thank you. You may notice that there's no finance report in your board packet this month. We've been asked to provide the board packet a week earlier than in the past, which makes the preparation of the board packet at a time that the month isn't complete yet. So we would need to wait until the month is done in order to create a new finance report that would be different from the prior month. So that means we'll just have to skip a finance report this time, and the finance report that I would have given you will just be in the following month, and then we'll just always be just a month later than we were before. Are there any questions about that? I did want to give you an update on the bond, just a quick one. The school bond, I did file the notice of measure election with the county, so that's done. Everything that we need to do procedurally is complete, and I'll give you a copy of that with your next board packet. That's all I had on the finance report. Do you want me to move into 6.2?
Anna's going to move on to the enrollment report. Okay. It's just really hard to hear, so I'm just relaying. It's not you, it's just the speakers.
Okay, 6.2 enrollment report is the same scenario where if the board packets are earlier, the month isn't done yet, the enrollment report, which is run on the last day of each month, won't be done yet. So it'll just be a month behind.
Is this a permanent change or just related to the calendar this month?
My understanding it's a permanent change.
Where is this coming from, Madam Chairman?
We wanted to allow, Tammy was really crunched for time, like she was putting these packets together and barely getting them out by Friday with trying to get everything together. And so as we talked, Joel and I, to alleviate and give enough time to make our packets and get them out before the 12th hour, we are attempting to move up the agenda approvals and putting them in line. So everything would be essentially a month off when it comes to Anna's finance report.
Well, I don't understand why we would not be okay with mailing out the enrollment packet and the finance packet after the regular packet is mailed so that we could get timely financials instead of waiting a month and having old information. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think
it's not good governance.
That could be something that is worked out with Anna and Tammy. I'm not sure how all of the packets get put together and when and how that works. So I'm not sure if that's even doable for Anna.
I will continue to have the finance reports and the enrollment reports done in the same time frame that I always have. So if they're not able to be included in the board packet, I could easily email them to you later as long as they're on the agenda with an agenda topic number that I can link to the handout.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I'd rather get the information timely if we can, so that would work for me.
Yeah. These are kind of kinks we're still trying to work out and finding the right timeline. Joel and I have moved through different days and meetings and how often and when to approve and when to say, oh, this is it. We've had a lot of last-minute add-ons, and it's made a really hard push for our packets.
One other element in the consideration was sometimes the board packets get to be about 100 pages, so we wanted to make sure the board had a realistic amount of time to review the information so that you'd be prepared. So I think let's kind of explore this new way, and we'll work with Anna to make sure that we have timely finances as well.
And does anybody on the board object to getting two separate packets, one with finance enrollment in it and one with other business in it? I mean, that would seem to be the easiest way to...
If yours is pretty straightforward each month, Anna, if you'd like to do that, I'm not opposed to that. If you want to just get a second packet over to Tammy to get out, that's reasonable to me.
Even if it was difficult, if that's what you wanted, that's what I would do. It's not difficult, though.
Okay. I think you can move on to the next, Anna.
Okay. The next topic is more complicated, and I do have Kelsey Lucas here if we do have questions that she could answer. This has to do with a new law that was passed in 2023, and it's called school support fees, and it's related to enterprise zones. For businesses that receive tax breaks, school districts must now set a fee to charge those businesses when they reach a certain number of years. So we really don't have a choice in whether we set the fee or not, but we do have a choice in how much the fee is. It has to be at least 15%, and it can be as much as 30%. It is considered local revenue, so it does flow through the state school fund formula, which means that there potentially could be very little impact that we would see from these fees. And so we're presenting the information tonight with a suggestion to set the fee at 15%, which is the lowest, but it's really up to the board on what you want to do. I have talked to several other school districts, and they're all setting their fees at 15%. And the low fee, the whole point of an enterprise zone is to attract businesses to your area, whether it's your county or your city. So that's why we're presenting it with a 15%. I'd love to hear your questions.
I don't know that there's many questions when it's a must-do. I would agree to the 15%. We want businesses to come and stay.
Can Kelsey give us a rundown at all of what her opinion is, or just what she knows about it? She came prepared, so.
So Anna did cover it very well. Basically what you guys have to decide is whether you want between 15 and 30%, and it is part of the revenue formula for you guys. So there isn't a real benefit to school districts, unfortunately. So it's kind of just this added piece that the legislator passed but didn't really confer with school districts. So again, it's required. Ben Lapine, Redmond, and Sisters have all gone with the 15%. It doesn't make a real impact to the school district itself because it goes to the state, and then maybe very little will come back to you guys. But this is our most utilized tax incentive statewide, and Kirk County is no different to that. We've had 32 companies utilize it since we've had an enterprise zone, so it's been impactful in drawing businesses here, and I think it's a good program. And then this is just an added piece that we have now it's for the extended abatement, so 4th and 5th year, and then 6th through 15 for the long-term enterprise zone agreements. So not the standard 3-year ones, which a lot of companies do go that route as well.
So let me walk you through some scenarios here, Kelsey.
Okay.
So if all 199 school districts set this fee at 30% instead of 15 and maintain unity on that, then that would be more money flowing to schools, which would flow back to them through the equalization formula. But if just one district set it at 15 and the other 198 set it at 30, then you would end up with a district or community that had more competitive advantage than everybody else. Everybody would go to that community.
Right.
So it's stupid to ask individual districts to set this. If you really want to raise more money, that's what the legislature should do, but they haven't. They put it back on us, and so if there's no benefit to us to setting it higher or lower. There might be detriment because we'll be less competitive, but even if we set it higher than 15, it's just going to get deducted from our state school fund a year from now, and so this does us no good. So we might as well just set it at the 15 and be competitive and get the same amount of money we were going to get anyway.
Right, that's the biggest thing at this point is since other districts have set theirs, it doesn't really make sense to do the higher one because that just will draw companies to areas where it's lower. So agree with you on all of that, but that's kind of where we're at.
So just to clarify, we're collecting from our local businesses and then sending it to Portland, and then they re-divvy out to each district?
That's how funding works.
Well, it's in the math problem, theoretically it's like that. The actual money doesn't go anywhere besides to the school district. What ends up happening is we have to report it to ODE, and then what they do is reduce the amount of state school fund money we receive as it runs through the math formula.
Madam Chairman, I move to adopt Resolution 06-2324, setting the school support fee at 15% for the Cook County Enterprise Zone.
Second. Yes, we hear that. Yeah.
Any other discussion on this? Okay.
will say under discussion that I intended to walk in and vote against this tonight, but then I got more information and changed my mind. So that's a motion I didn't intend to make.
Yeah, okay. Well, all those in favor to move to adopt Resolution 2023-2024, setting the school fee support at 15% for Crook County Enterprise Zone, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Oh.
Just to clarify on that, each agreement with specific companies, there will be a resolution passed, like tailored to each company. So this is just to set that fee amount, but there are other requirements that can be imposed, like administrative fees, things like that, for the work that you guys put into this in the future. But we basically just have to set the rate right now, and then 2028 would be the first year that any of these agreements would have to look at this new process.
And that is only while they're in using, or is it just because they're in the enterprise zone, or is it during the years that they're in that?
Any new enterprise zones going forward, so it doesn't impact any of the companies that we have using it currently.
Gotcha. So somebody who's currently in the system, this does not affect.
Correct.
Because they've already
Unless
signed.
they get a second agreement.
Gotcha.
in the
Okay.
future.
But then if they sign an 8-year agreement, it'll sunset at 8 years, and they'll be able to move forward and won't have to pay that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll just pay full taxes.
Right.
Anything else? Good.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Sorry, Leland, I didn't welcome you up. Sure. You can have the floor, Leland. Talk to us about modular buildings.
All right. So back in November of 2023, I gave the board a little presentation about just informational stuff about two mods that we are looking at doing, one at Barnes Butte and one at Crooked River. And we have bids in on the mods, and we have an architect that's actually starting to work on the site plan. So what we really came to the board for tonight was to anything over $150,000 expenditure, the board has to approve that expenditure. So these mods, the buildings alone are right at $500,000, and I estimate that our utilities and all the excavation work to site those is probably going to be somewhere in the $400,000 to $450,000 range.
So, Leland, I know after our November meeting, we talked a lot about the enrollment and kind of like the bubble and if we're going to continue to see this growth. And so there was, I guess, some talk, not necessarily pushback, but why are we putting one in a brand new, our newest school built, and two, why were these the two locations selected?
So Barnes Butte, I can go back to my notes here. So they've been up about 30 students per year for the last couple of years. So they're approaching their building's max capacity. Crooked River's up about 20 students this year, and we've had an increase in highly impacted students. So we've seen that increase in both of those schools. I can tell you that Crooked River's space for impacted type students is extremely small at this point, and there's nowhere else to go over there. That building every room's being used over at Crooked River, and every room's being used at Barnes Butte as well.
Leland?
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
On these modulars, are they going to have restrooms and the whole works?
So the modular that's going into Crooked River is dry. It does not have restrooms in it. It has two 900-square-foot classrooms. And what we'll do at Crooked River is it's going to be set right next to the greenhouse right there in that area.
Next to the greenhouse?
Yes. That's on the west side of the building. Oh. So if you look at the drawing, you can see the little yellow square down there in the bottom left-hand corner. Mm-hmm. That's where it's going to sit.
Okay.
So that there's two doors into that hallway, and there's a restroom just to the north on that hallway. so they really don't need restrooms.
Okay.
But we'll put card access on the door so that kids can either go in with a card, or else we'll build a fence around it and leave the doors unlocked so they can just get into the building. Those two options we're still kind of considering how we're going to do that.
Okay. And Barnes View. Yeah.
Barnes View Smod's, it's a little further out away from the building, and it's going to be wet and have a bathroom in each classroom. And you can see it sets out on the far north end up there, kind of way out there by the swing set. And the reason we put it right there is because it's directly in line with our utilities room, so we can go straight in to hook into utilities, water, and sewer. So it makes that a pretty easy connection right there.
And it's fenced in as well?
It's fenced in now. They're all in a fence.
Okay.
The reason we thought about putting another fence around the one at Crooked River is if we do that, then we don't have to put card access on that door.
Right.
So I've been working with Kimberly on what she really wants there.
What about our capacity at Steens Pillar Elementary? Where are we at with that elementary school?
I don't know where we're at on Steens Pillar, quite honestly. With Grizzly Mountain, I mean, all the rooms are being used. I did an audit early this year and looked at all the classrooms, and we're using classrooms extremely well here on this site, too.
Sorry, you're just really hard to hear. Are they?
Sorry.
It's just the speakers. They're at capacity at Steens Pillar too, or?
I don't honestly know the answer to that, so I don't want to.
I believe so. It always kind of goes back and forth each year on how to use these mods, and I'm looking at Brian, so I got it right. Yes, so we're darn near close capacity. So I think this is another conversation we'd want to have about as we continue to grow what our options are.
Is there any way to, I guess, level the kids across the schools? I know, I'm sure each school has a mark of capacity. Mm-hmm. Is there any way to maneuver the kids? Like, I know that we have districts in a sense for each school, but we also allow kids to go to whichever school they'd like.
Mm-hmm.
So can that be?
We can report back on the options, like the capacities of the buildings of each school. I mean, these are big conversations,
yeah.
But conversations that maybe need to be had. So that's something we can put down as a future agenda item at a next meeting. That way we can bring you numbers of how the capacity per student at each building.
Scott.
Madam Chair, I would be cautious about that road. Because if you can level your buildings out and you can declare capacity limits, but you will do that at the expense of parent choice. And that's not what this board has wanted to stand for, so you be careful.
I just think then you maybe need to add in a third modular. I mean, if we're at our breaking point at Steens Pillar, and we're at our breaking point at Barnes View, and we're at our breaking point at Crooked River, why would we leave Steens Pillar out of the mix? Why did we choose to not build or buy a modular for Steens?
Does Steens use any of the buildings with Grizzly Mountain? Where are we at with that? How many students come into Grizzly Mountain, and is Steens able to use some of that space as well?
They do share. They share about half of the south building. Steens Pillar does. We made a major move. It was in December, where we moved quite a few things around to actually make things work more efficiently. I don't remember. Brian knows really who we moved where, but we're pretty packed.
In a really good way,
mm-hmm.
People are coming to our district. They are moving here. There's apartments popping up. And I believe this is a broader conversation that we need to explore, because the questions of Grizzly Mountain Homelink sharing the building with Steens Pillar, and there's 4 modules over there, and what happens there. Those are conversations that happen probably every year. And I think we are, as we've talked about, getting close to the capacity of these buildings. So I'd like to come back probably next month and bring you guys some hard data of where we're at, so we can look at the numbers of where we're actually at and where our biggest needs are, and then come up with solutions from there.
I guess I would like to also see the numbers for Steens, Pillar, Leland.
Leland, I have another question for you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm assuming the other modular is the same, right? It'll be two 900-square-foot classrooms?
They're 900 feet, but the bathroom takes up some of that space, so they're probably
A little bit less.
Probably 830, 840, somewhere in that area.
And in those classrooms, how many students can that house?
How many can it house?
Yeah.
Probably house 25 pretty comfortably.
Okay, that's what I was assuming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But didn't you say we're going to utilize, I think it's Barnes Butte for, I don't remember what term you used, but not like an actual third grade class or fifth grade class. You said,
So the information that the school gave me was that their highly impacted students, the increase in highly impacted students has had an effect on how many students we have in the building. Because those students, there's no abbreviated school day for most of those students. They're there all day long. So if you go into one of the SPED rooms, for instance, you'll see they're really full. I mean, Barnes Butte has 3 rooms, I think, over there, and then the common space in that pod that they have. And Crooked River is using 1 room. And we have panels up all over the place to try and help them with whatever they need so that they can like separate kids when they need to be separated. The rooms are definitely full.
So both of these modulars will be for the highly impacted students. Is that what I'm
I don't know for sure who they're going to put in those rooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can certainly explore a third mod. I'm pretty sure I can get one pretty quick. I don't know if I can get one by the beginning of next school year now, but we can look at exploring that. If we were going to do that, then I would actually add the excavation and utility work all in there at the same time, and we can do some of that stuff so our contracts are still on one contract. Getting the building would be an issue because I don't know what the vendor that we're using that provides the mods, I don't know what they have available at the moment. I don't know if it would have to be built or if they might have something there that's in stock that we could get.
You know, Leland, I would just like to observe that I'm choking on a $500,000 price tag for these modulars.
I know.
I remember when we could buy modulars for $60,000 to $70,000 used, and that was reasonable. I'm building a modular myself for my Head Start program over in Redmond. It's 2,400 square feet, and it's wet, and it has offices and classrooms. And its cost, that project budget for that is $850,000, which is ridiculous. But it is a fair cost to say they're $500,000 apiece. That's how the system works now. So thank you for finding us what doesn't feel like a deal, but is a deal.
I would like to revisit this with some hard numbers and possibly a third. And where are we at on the modulars at the middle school? Aren't those due or?
Well, now? Okay. So the company that we originally leased those from sold that company to another company. When I called them to inquire what it would cost us to purchase those, they informed me that they were an asset, and this company does lease only. So we would be tied into leasing those 3 mods. I have asked for a quote as to what that's going to cost us, and I haven't received that yet.
We do have some money set aside for doing something with those modulars at the middle school. And I do know how we're going to pay for the modulars at Barnes Butte and Crooked River. And I know that those 2 are urgent. I don't know how we would pay for another modular at Steens Pillar, so that would take some time to figure that one out. And I believe Leland has a timeline that if the board doesn't approve the 2 modulars for Barnes Butte and Crooked River now, tonight, then we either need another board meeting soon, or we will not be able to put those in during the summer. Is that correct?
Yes.
So did you take into account Steens Pillar, or was only Crooked River and Barnes Butte? Did you decide we didn't need a modular at Steens Pillar, or were they not looked at all?
I didn't get a request for Steens Pillar. I know we looked at how many students we had in rooms and kind of did an audit as to make sure that all the rooms were being used. But I never received a request to add a mod over here, another mod on this particular site.
Who makes those requests? Is it the building administrators, the principals?
Building administrators that have some say into that, they would probably actually start the request process. Seeing I'm like completely full and I have nowhere to go.
And because Steens Pillar does a lottery cap system, we actually can limit the number of students that the building could take to match where we're at.
Okay. And then, so where are we at capacity-wise at the middle school?
The middle school, I talked to Marcus about his capacity. They're using all 3 of those mods. There's 6 classrooms out there.
Right.
They're using all of those. When I asked him if we could get rid of any, he told me no.
Okay. So we're not in need of more space there either.
No, I don't think so. They're at like 600 and something, I think. I don't know for sure what their current capacity is. That building at 700 is just literally busting at the seams, and we were close to that, I think, last year. So I don't think they have quite as many this year, but they're still in the 600 somewhere.
Do you think we could get a report back maybe next month on Steens Pillar? I know that they don't have a library. There is some office space issues going on. Just so we can figure out. I know they were doing. Miss Eden was doing like an art/music program. Just seeing what else space projected out that Steens Pillar would need, even if we capped them off. I think there might still be some need for space at Steens.
Okay. Okay.
So what's your drop dead deadline to get this installed by the start of school? To get approval from us if you're going to get it installed by the start of school.
One of the things that's going to take longer than anything is once I get the site plan back, getting a review by the county. Sometimes those take like 90 days. I can't do any work until I get that completed. They've been pushing things through pretty fast for us, but if I could get approval to just start on the 2 tonight, that would be fantastic. And then we can look at the other one if I can give you some more information, and we can look at doing the other one a little bit later.
I just don't know if it was needed or looked at. I mean, if you looked at Steens Pillar and they didn't say they needed the space, that's one thing. But if we only looked at 2 schools instead of a third, elementary, I don't know that that's just or fair to our third elementary. And then same with the middle school. I mean, if we don't, and in that same bubble with their modulars at this point, figuring out what to do with their extra space.
Anna, you did say that you do know where you're going to get the funds at for the 2, correct? But if we brought something else in, that'd be, you trying to figure out where we're going to get funds for the third one, correct?
Correct.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a challenge finding $1 million to do this project.
Okay.
I don't think most school districts are in a position to be able to do that. So.
And Leland, you said that the county is about 90 days for a review. So that, you're pushing to June now, right? If you had it within this month, if you got approval from the board, then you're looking at April, May, June, potentially.
Right. And I've requested to have the mods actually delivered second week of July. That's tentative. That's when I would like to get them here. So I'm hoping that we can get, we're into June before we can start doing a whole lot of work right now. So I think the timing's really good right now. If we push it back another month, that could hurt a little bit. That would make me nervous.
Your drop dead date would be March, by the end of March.
Yeah, we could do another special board meeting if you wanted. I don't know. Gathering all this information might take a little while to get it all put together for you. But
Madam Chairman, I move to approve expenditures of up to $1 million for modular buildings at Crooked River Elementary and Barnes Butte Elementary, and to direct staff to report back on the need for a third modular at Steams Pillar at the next meeting.
I second.
Any other discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. So all those to move to approve the expenditure of $1 million for modular buildings at Crooked River Elementary and Barnes Butte Elementary with a report back on a third modular, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Leland, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to public comment. Holly Haynes.
Am I on? Can you hear me?
Kinda.
Is that a little better?
That's a little bit better. There we go.
I spoke in December about a public records request regarding a fake disciplinary policy that actually revealed that the former Crook County School District Board had violated public meeting laws. And I wanted to talk about that again tonight because I did bring it up publicly, and I thought it would be fair to bring up part of the resolution to it publicly as well. So I did file an ethics complaint with the Oregon Government Ethics Commission, and as expected, it was denied because I did not file by the statutory time frame, which requires the complaint be filed within 30 days of the alleged public meeting law violation, which, ironically, the 30 days are hard to gauge when the meetings are intentionally kept from the public. When I spoke to the OGEC's new executive director, Susan Myers, she was quite apologetic, excuse me, quite apologetic that she could not proceed on my complaint and stated that's too bad because this is really a good example of public meeting law violations. Almost immediately after the December board meeting, the school district, presumably at the direction of the district's legal counsel, began to provide official public notice of numerous committee meetings, which were the essence of all these public meeting law violations. And at some point, the district apparently uploaded board minutes going back to 2012, and I don't recall seeing these before, but I would ask the board to preserve these documents on your website because they provide substantial evidence of these public meeting law violations. So if I or another member of the public chooses to proceed with this matter, Oregon statute provides for civil penalties. And while civil penalties are appropriate, I would rather see these five members of the former board step down from their current positions and be barred from seeking further public office, because despite ongoing board training from OSBA and High Desert ESD, each of the five former board members clearly made informed decisions to violate the public trust by violating public meeting laws. Second, I want to discuss the renewal of your High Desert ESD contract that you did last month. That contract states that it provides legal services and specifically, quote, provides legal services to district boards and administrators. In an increasingly complex legal environment, the service is provided at a cost that's substantially lower than the going market rate. It supports school districts in meeting the requirements of state and federal law. I believe that if your attorney with High Desert ESD had been paying attention, she would have discovered these public meeting law violations long before I did and would have intervened. Another extremely concerning error that the High Desert ESD's legal department should have uncovered but never did is that Crook County School District's annual FERPA notice to parents and students appears to be deficient. The annual FERPA notice is required to define the terms, quote, school official and, quote, legitimate educational interest, but Crook County School District's FERPA notice does not define either and never has, I guess. However, CCSD's faulty FERPA notice fails to define who specifically in the district is entitled to protected information and the legitimate educational interest that actually would entitle them to this information. So just being an employee at the district does not automatically entitle an employee to FERPA-protected information. When I spoke to the U.S. Department of Education back in Washington, D.C. in December, they were alarmed that Crook County School District's annual FERPA notice does not define either term because this absence, quote, leaves all CCSD students unprotected. And they mentioned offhand that Crook County School District is already on the U.S. Department of Education's radar for its FERPA issues, so this should cause concern for the board. The district will not be able to defend itself if it does not define who specifically in the district is permitted access to students' records and what CCSD believes constitutes a legitimate educational interest. So this leaves the door wide open and does leave the district at risk. At this point, I am concerned that there may be some issues with the legal advice that you're getting from your attorney. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Having no other public comments, we'll move on to our upcoming dates. As Carrie covered, we do have curriculum review nights. They are March 13th. They're later on our list here, but March 13th and 20th from 5 to 7 at the district office. We have no school in Paulina and Brothers. It's a grading day for them, March 14th. There's no school here in the district in Crook County. On March 15th, it's their grading day. We have a virtual listening session March 18th at 6:30. That is still at the district office. It's not
I believe
listed.
it'll be virtual and in person, so people can participate online.
Okay. And if you wanted to come in person, it is at the district office. Again, the second curriculum review night is March 20th from 5 to 7 at the district office. There is no school. Spring break, which is March 25th through the 29th. We have our next school board meeting April 8th at Brothers. When we go out to Brothers in Paulina, those meetings are earlier, so that meeting is at 4 o'clock at Brothers Elementary School. And then we have no school. It is a staff development day, and for conferences, April 19th. We are going to now recess this meeting.
Madam Chairman, could we have one other brief discussion?
Yes.
I would like to take just a minute to talk about the fact that apparently we have decided to eliminate the public acknowledgments and thank yous that we have been doing for a long time at the beginning of the meeting. I think that's unfortunate because I think that this organization does its best work when it is relating to the public that it serves. We have missed an opportunity to congratulate our wrestlers, our female wrestlers, our basketball team, and I'm going to take an opportunity here to congratulate Mr. and Mrs. Uffelman, who are sitting in the audience, whose daughter is newly installed as the bishop of the Episcopal Church for the Southern District of Ohio. She is a 1989 Crook County graduate, and that was much celebrated in the newspaper, but we didn't get that opportunity. So congratulations, parents. Thank you. I hope we could consider returning to the policy of thanking and acknowledging, because I think we always have time to talk about people. I think it's important for us in building relationships with our community, and I think we have a bond to pass in May. And as much as business is interesting, I think relationships are just as interesting. So I hope we maybe could reconsider that.
So Joel and I have brainstormed some of those ideas as well, Scott, looking at more or less utilizing our social media and those platforms to also promote those things. If you watch, you'll see like the basketball update was on there, the wrestling was on there.
Madam Chairman, I don't think social media is an adequate substitute. So.
Sure. We can add that back to our list of agenda items. Anything else? So we will recess into executive session.
4 of KLAR.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting Jennifer's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Tammy, I did forget. Please note that Cheyenne is not present for this. Sorry. In the next order of business, complaint against board member. Do we have a motion for that?
Madam Chair, I move to clarify the board's decision of March 4th to provide that mediation in the reference complaint be accepted by all parties by March 15th, 5 p.m., or that the board decline to hear the matter further.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting Scott's motion pertaining to the complaint against board members, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Tammy, please note 4-0 on that, and we will adjourn this meeting.